I mean, like, it's a strong kettlebell.
Our new Savage kettlebells are tough as f.
That's the intro.
Are you filming?
That was the plan.
Oh, you're
Kettlebells just got a whole lot more savage. This is the all-new Savage Kettlebell, built for the kind of training that doesn't quit when the weather turns bad, the music stops, or your hands start slipping. There are some things that AI is extremely useful for, but when it comes to making YouTube scripts, no. How's it going, everyone? This is Tim from Fringe Sport here today to talk about the brand new Savage Kettlebell from Fringe Sport. It's a kettlebell with all the benefits of cast iron kettlebells plus a little extra and none of the downsides. Let's talk about it. Kettlebells by themselves are already amazing strength and mobility tools. Some people even train exclusively with kettlebells, and that style of training is becoming more and more popular as time goes by. Now, with traditional cast iron kettlebells, there are a few annoyances about them, and we want to take those annoyances and fix them with the Savage kettlebells. Like I had mentioned before, with the Savage kettlebells, you get all the benefits of cast iron kettlebells with none of the downside, and you get a few benefits stacked on top of that, which sort of goes back to our message with Fringe Sport. We're all about creating amazing product, but we're also about improving everybody's training quality and experience. So let's dive into some of the key features with the Savage kettlebells. In front of me, I have two different types of kettlebells, the Savage and the cast iron equivalent. Now, reason I bring up the cast iron is because I want to discuss some of the drawbacks to really highlight the features of the Savage kettlebell, because like I'll hammer home for this entire video, this comes with all the benefits of a cast iron kettlebell with none of the drawback plus a few extras. So first thing I want to talk about is the performance, and that might sound a little bit weird because what's the difference from 35 pounds to 35 pounds? Let me tell you. So if you're new to kettlebell training, cleans is one of the exercises that you're going to be doing throughout your training. Now, when you bring it up, that kettlebell is going to make contact with the back of your forearm. Now, for seasoned kettlebell trainees, they're probably not going to mind this as much, but for newer ones, this might annoy the back of your forearm, for lack of better words. Not necessarily leave bruising or anything, but it could annoy you a little bit. So instead, with the Savage kettlebell, because it's fully encased in rubber, when it makes contact with the back of your forearm, it's not going to hurt nearly as much versus you using a cast iron kettlebell. So even though these are both 35 pounds, this is going to be cast iron making contact with the back of your forearm versus virgin rubber. The next thing about performance is going to be grip on the two of these. So on traditional cast iron kettlebells, it's just going to be smooth throughout. All you're really getting is that powder coat or paint in some instances. But with the Savage kettlebells, you have a smooth handle on the top right here, so you're still going to be able to do your one-handed movements totally fine. However, for two-handed movements where you might need a little bit of extra grip, we added some texture underneath this white line right here. So if you're doing something like goblet squats for very high volume and your grip would normally give out on a traditional cast iron kettlebell, you'd be able to grip onto the Savage kettlebell with little to no issues, and you wouldn't need to use chalk nearly as frequently on the Savages as you would with cast iron. Next, let's go over impact and noise. So with the cast iron kettlebell, I mean, it's cast iron. I'm not sure what else to tell you, but after enough drops over a long enough period of time, granted, I'm just dropping it on rubber floor, but just to make a point, you're probably going to get some visits from your HOA because it's too noisy. But on top of that, if you're training on a concrete surface like your patio or your driveway, chances are that's going to start getting damage over time. But with a fully virgin rubber encased kettlebell, the Savage kettlebell, everything's going to be totally fine. You won't be getting nearly as many visits from your HOA, and your concrete surfaces are going to be totally fine. The reason I've got these in the sun is because that's another thing, heat. If you train exclusively outside and you leave your kettlebells in your backyard and you live here in Austin, Texas as an example, then you know how hot summers can get, and sometimes cast iron kettlebells can be a little too hot to work out with. With Savage kettlebells, because they are fully encapsulated in rubber and they're insulated, you're not going to be getting that problem at all. So whether it's a really hot summer or a really cold winter, you're not going to be getting any of those grip issues on these versus cast iron kettlebells. There are so many more performance benefits, but those are the ones most important to us. Now let's talk about cosmetics, aesthetics. So before we get onto the Savage, again, back to the cast iron. So this is just powder coated or painted in some cases. That is the only thing stopping this from corroding, especially when exposed to the elements like humidity here in Austin, Texas at times throughout the year. So out of the box, looks fantastic, performs as it should. However, over time, that powder coat or paint is going to start chipping, it's going to start flaking, especially on the grip and the bottom. So you might have used a kettlebell in the past, and after some kettlebell swings, you take a look down at your hand and you're like, wow, I've got a lot of rust. That's because the grip has worn down over time. Same thing with the bottom, especially if you store these on just a concrete surface, that's going to start chipping right away. And especially in humidity, if you leave it in the same spot for a long enough period of time, it's going to leave a rust ring, is what I call it. So that's just one huge thing with purely cast iron kettlebells, is that corrosion factor. Things are going to chip. It's going to start to look worn, used, which is the point of gym equipment. However, in order to avoid all that, you're going to want a dumbbell that is fully encapsulated in rubber, the Savage kettlebell. You're not going to be getting any of those issues. The grip is going to hold up throughout its entire lifespan. And again, on the bottom, even if you store these on a concrete or a rubber surface, that's not going to wear and it's not going to leave any marks. Not only do the Savage kettlebells look amazing, but those looks actually serve a purpose. So being in the Savage family, we've made it so the color of the kettlebell pretty much matches the plate equivalent. Reason I say pretty much is because kettlebells have their own standard of jumps and bumper plates also have their own standard of jumps. So just as an example, the green kettlebell is 26 pounds and the green bumper plate is 25. The yellow kettlebell is 35, the yellow plate is 35. Those two are the same. The blue kettlebell is 44 pounds and the blue bumper plate is 45 pounds. So there's going to be some slight differences depending on what weight you want to use. However, you know that, oh, I'm grabbing a Savage kettlebell, that's I need 35 pounds, okay, I need the yellow. I need a 44-pound one, okay, I need to grab the blue one, instead of looking at those rings on cast iron kettlebells. That's going to be it on the Savage kettlebells. You get all the benefits of traditional cast iron kettlebells with none of the downside and a few other key features. It's fully encapsulated in virgin rubber. They're not going to be nearly as noisy. They're going to resist the elements. So when it comes to winter and summer training, not going to be impacted by that at all. They'll be much easier on your skin. So when you're doing exercises like cleans and the kettlebell makes impact with the back of your forearm, not going to be nearly as impactful. And it's just an awesome looking product, part of our Savage line now, very easy to read, and are going to be a great addition to anybody's facility or home gym. This has been Tim with Fringe Sport going over the Savage kettlebells. We still have a good amount of products left for 2025. So if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to drop it a thumbs up because it helps the channel out a lot more than you think, and it's no cost to you. It's free. If you want to see more of our videos to stay updated on what we're doing here at Fringe Sport, please subscribe to the channel, and hopefully we'll see you in that next one.